Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message on keeping trouble at bay. On keeping trouble at bay. As we approach the day when one will be announced President of the United States, there will be those individuals that will unfortunately look for their share of trouble. They are going to do the types of things that will unfortunately make media headlines. The day of is going to be bad, okay? Those of you all who are familiar with scripture and all of those major as well as minor prophets, many of them did not preach anything good unless the listeners would trust the Lord, would follow after the one true God, obey him. The average individual is not the least bit thinking about spiritual things when their flesh is often overriding their spirit. So, of course, they're not going to do anything that keeps trouble at bay. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to incite war and conflict. Let me tell you, those red colors that individuals wear and those blue colors and some individuals who wear rainbow colors and others, how is it that they think for one moment that they're not representing a gang, if you will? Stay with me. While back in the day, there were those individuals who were wearing all sorts of colors where I grew up. Some of them represented one hood or another. There was the black color for one gang. Then there was the red color for another gang. There was the blue color for another. And then I moved to some other place in another state and folks was walking around with white tees. Let me tell you, it isn't any different when you're running around with your lifestyle all decorated up. It isn't any different when you're wearing your red for your political party or your blue for yours. Come on. When you are running around doing some things or saying some things that you know is going to create all sorts of conflict, you might as well be prepared. The individuals who keep trouble at bay are the ones who they're not wearing the red, the blue. They're not running around putting up any type of symbols or colors or eye coverings or anything else. I will tell you that those individuals who didn't want their particular elitist organizations, their signs, their symbols, their colors, their oaths, and all of that being exposed, of course, they were going to do the types of things that was going to shut people down who was on to their game, on to their coded language, on to the foolishness that they were into. And now here we are, we got individuals who are going to be quite angry because their person who they wanted so bad to win isn't going to win. We see this sort of thing even with teams. You got this one wearing that jersey and it rubs you the wrong way, doesn't it? Because you don't like that team. Or you got this one who shows up and you formulate your own opinion. He got that basketball jersey on. I can't stand. And then you got somebody else who shows up and they're representing for some other organization. And that organization happens to be a employer that somebody in your family had just a lot of problems with. See, these sorts of things rub you the wrong way. And if you don't do your necessary research or you forget that you're going to be driving through an area or you're going to be walking through an area or you'll be waiting for a bus and you just happen to have red on that day, Lord Jesus. I'm giving some folks some prophecy. Now, if you don't want to take what I'm saying seriously, then by all means, you're looking for trouble. But if you want to keep trouble at bay, you're going to listen and you're going to pay attention and you're going to plan accordingly for that November 8th day and beyond. Watch what you're putting on your body before you walk out the door. Watch how you're holding your hands when you're putting up all sorts of video. Watch the different types of colors that you wear when you're going down streets. I remember an individual who was listening to one of my old audios, noticed that I was wearing black and white and said, "Oh, she's one of those." Excuse me? I knew my research very well, and I knew who all in the family was and wasn't. And he assumed that there was one particular individual who was closest to me that was a part of the occult. Sorry to bust your bubble, but no. That particular individual who he had stated was not a part of the group that he was trying to connect that man with. But was there people in the family? Absolutely. And there still are, and they are very much alive. But I haven't sold my soul to the devil. You see what I mean? But you got individuals that, because they cannot figure out who's who, they assume that anybody that wears a certain color and anybody that looks this way or that way, or you may have a scarf on your head, right? Or you could be wearing a certain color beanie or a scarf around your neck, like a winter scarf, you see. You could be just doing the typical thing, right, that you always do. I'm just going to put this on. And so, bought it for me, and that's why I have it. But they don't want to hear all that, because when people are raging, when they're upset, when they've got their past with an organization, or they've done their share of homework and they're upset with the world, they're going to assume things. And when you are out there on the street, there's no time to explain. And if you are so bold to want to wear your colors, you're no different than the gangs. While some folks want to talk about thugs and everything else, you're nothing more than a thug when you go out there supporting your particular politician, and you have an attitude like, yeah, I dare them step up to me. Oh, you dare? Okay, they're going to take the dare, especially the young people. They're going to take it. They're going to take it. And we got some of these older people who think that they can still do a step or two on a group of young people. You got to be kidding. I've seen some of these videos. You got to be kidding. When adrenaline is at an all-time, and there's a massive group of individuals who can't stand your people, your color. I mean, even wearing the wrong skin tone. And some of us, we know that if you go into certain neighborhoods, they're going to give you that look, and they're going to give you so much time to leave that neighborhood. Linger too long and talk to the wrong folk, and you just might end up not leaving that neighborhood, or you end up having property damaged, or you yourself end up wearing some bruises or have some broken bones. I remember a long time ago, I was in the car and I heard my dad make a statement about, I don't know why these people put these bumper stickers on their car. Number one, it depreciates the value. And another thing is, why would you want to put something political on the back of a car when you know that there are people out here who can't stand that particular group? You see, I'm not going to have nobody mess up my car. I know that's right. Some individuals, you might as well start scraping those bumper stickers off, because see, long after, people are going to still see that bumper sticker. And even though things might die down a bit, you might want to get a job one day, and somebody just happens to be in the parking lot and walks by your vehicle. Oh, so-and-so is a supporter. Or was one. I mean, people formulate all sorts of opinions about folks. I mean, I've been in rooms. I've sat on buses, riding buses. I've been around family members and friends. I've been around movers and shakers, and they don't necessarily treat you in the way that you think you should be treated. You see. Some folks will even come up with an excuse and say, well, the reason why so-and-so didn't get the job was because they were unqualified. No, the truth be told is because your skin tone was what it was. The truth be told is you supported this particular candidate. I remember one of the people I worked with couldn't wait till one particular person left because she got sick and tired of listening to all of his speeches about an unfavorable candidate. And the man even went so far as to share all the money that he spent supporting that candidate. You know, people don't want to hear that sort of thing. Now, you see, we got those individuals who will say things like, don't shove the Bible down my throat, right? And in some cases, they're making false accusations because if you're in my camp, then you should expect to hear a faith-based message. It's not shoving if you decide you want to click on the audio, if you dare. You're going to hear what the Lord has put upon my spirit. But we got individuals who they don't mind shoving voting and all things politics down people's throats. And then if you object or you say, I have a right to choose or I have a right to sit out. Oh no, you don't do that after all of what people have done for you. And they start getting all crazy acting, you see? And this sort of thing is what turns some people off big time and will create division and separation in families. Now, the prophetic is still very much occurring. We are warning. We are telling individuals, those who have an ear, let them hear. The Lord has been reminding you, just like he told you, some of you all, you felt it in your spirit. It's no hoax. It's no conspiracy. You need to put a mask on. You need to wash your hands. And then when you started seeing family members, friends, and you heard through the grapevine, some folks even died behind this, you started taking it seriously. Well, you need to take the fact that this upcoming year is going to be hard on a lot of folks. If you voted one way or another way, it's going to be hard either way. Because once again, people who are in the upper echelons of our society, they will definitely formulate opinions. What group are you a part of? Who do you serve? What are your connections? What family line have you come from? What's your social status? I mean, all of the information that's out here to even spy to see, well, let me see where you stand on this and where you stand on that. And if you change your mind about some things, there's going to be those individuals who's going to crucify you because you changed your mind. And if you pretty much stay relative, there'll be those individuals that'll have issue because they're going to ask you, why didn't you change? Why didn't you vote for? Why didn't you go to? Like, there'll be those various gatherings and meetings and all sorts of things. And folks will question. And folks will wonder. And this is why some individuals, I know for some of you all, you look at some of your favorite entertainers and you say, why do they do what they do? Because behind the scenes, there's always some wheeling and dealing going on. There's always some negotiating. There's always somebody in someone's pocket. And there is that promise that we're going to help you if you help us. But trouble, keeping trouble at bay, you keep trouble at bay when you're very careful about the type of people who you talk to, the affiliations that you take part in. If your affiliation is okay with one side or another, then it would make sense to go along with the programming and be on the side of the majority. If that's the one that's signing your paycheck and feeding your family. When you know that trouble is at bay, it is when an individual has decided to do something that raised awareness, that exposed, that stood up for one's faith, belief, truth. And this is where some relatives, friends, strangers even will start to distance themselves. They see the problem. They see that there's going to be those that's going to fight up against. And then they're like, well, I'm done. I'm gone. Some folks need to take days off around that time, depending on where you work and what industry you're a part of. For any of you all who feel so moved to want to do something different, you can do something different from the comfort of your home. You can be safe. You can alert some people to some things, but you don't have to be in the line of fire. I will tell you that God has not called any believer to be in the middle of pandemonium in your city, in your town, in your borough, on your street. And no one can tell me different, because I hear from the Holy Spirit. He has not told any believer to be a part of the madness. These people who are going to be out there doing what they're doing are the individuals who are the ones looking for trouble. They're not peacemakers. And the folks who are hired, who are paid, who are trained to be the peacemakers, those are going to be the authority figures. And you may not like how they keep the peace, but what would you do if there's some people going upside your head, or punching you, or kicking you, or ruining your property, or jumping up in your face and trying to fight with you while you got a nightstick, a gun on your hip, and some tear gas or rubber bullets or whatever else? Just let some folks do their jobs. Because you see, there was strategic measures in place when we saw the civil rights movement, when we saw the early stages of the peaceful protesting with Black Lives Matter. We saw, if you go way back, when women when they were protesting for their rights, voting rights and so forth, there was order. But things get chaotic when you've got people who, they're so angry and just about anything comes off of their lips, and no telling what they had experienced before they showed up to the rally or to the protest or to the movement or to the meeting or wherever. And so they have a way of taking their frustration out on everybody. You usually see the early warning signs with some of your radical relatives, short-tempered, got their share personality issues, unchecked, undiagnosed, when there is either a despondency where they're just kind of off in a corner somewhere and they really don't want to be bothered and they're quite irritable. There may be some yelling for no apparent reason, some irritability. They seem to be a bit quick-tempered, agitated. There seems to be a bit of secrecy going on with some. These sorts of things are usually the signs that you see before somebody reacts. Okay. People who feel like they're powerless and know they don't want to go where all of the action is, but they don't necessarily want to stay in a house and be peaceful. These are the individuals, unfortunately, who may even have to have the police called. And then others who, they just simply have their share of mental health ailments. It's not about calling the police, but it's about calling the paramedics, because they may be just at a breaking point watching these things on television, taking a look at these things over the internet, talking to people who are triggering them by the words that they say. It could be any number of things. And mental health, unfortunately, is on the rise in terms of folks just upset about the fact that they're not working. They're angry because of all of the things that they saw when it came to the police brutality. For some people, there's a delayed reaction, and now it's all catching up to them. Other individuals, and I mentioned this to a coworker, there's the grief that they're going through, and people don't grieve in the same way. So you see maybe a relative who's still grieving. I mean, they're crying, they're upset, they're drinking. They may have even tried different drugs, whether legal or illegal, just to cope. There are those side effects. And if you don't want to be somebody's punching bag, and you don't want to live in a house where it's holes in walls and furniture, overturned, and garbage hasn't been taken out and I don't know how long, and they're just a pack rat and they got more things in their house than the law allow, and it's just crazy. You might be their only lifeline for help, and so you will need to get outsiders involved. I know some people, they want to be all things to people who are hurting because they love them so, but with all of what's going on in people's lives, and I mean, some of you all, you got to work and deal with other people. You don't need that burden too. You can always pick up the phone, call someone, paramedics, mental health counselor, the doctor even, one of those hotlines, just sharing with them what you're noticing, what you're seeing, and how this person needs some help. This is how you can keep the bigger episodes of trouble at bay, okay? It's not enough, saints as well as sinners, to pray or to have someone pray, okay? God has moved on many of us to say, okay, I hear your prayer, but this is what I need for you to do. These are the steps I need for you to take. Now, the trouble that I talked about when it comes to, the upset, right? The protests, all of that. There's the other trouble that promotes all sorts of negativity as well. And to go a little bit further with the topic, financial trouble. The financial trouble that some individuals experience, especially when the stock market takes another dive, and it will. Matter of fact, there'll be quite a few episodes of this sort of thing. I have warned people about this in other audio, and just in case they didn't catch some of the audio, because there is so much out there, I'm reminding you to safeguard your assets, okay, and to go with the conservative investments before you end up taking, a risk messing around with stocks that have gone up but then have drastically came down to the point where it left you angry, very, very angry. Well, just imagine when you have people that have far more money than you do, and they've got properties and they've got all sorts of investments around the world. How do you think they're going to respond? Or the people who are responsible for everyone's property and investments and, you name it. They're going to be on edge. And unfortunately, I see in the spirit where people will commit suicide in great numbers. Okay. So it becomes so troubling in the future to the point where some of you all are going to need to keep your head. You've been prepped for all sorts of things to come in so many different audios. You've been given scriptures. We've prayed for you. We've shared comments. We've done as much as we can possibly do as speakers and preachers and teachers and counselors and ministers. And there are those who are doctors. It's so many things that have already been done. But a man or woman, in order to keep trouble at bay, you've got to be willing to be the one that says, you know what, I'm going to take that day off. I know I'm supposed to be in the city, but I'm going to take that day off to save myself the drama and the trauma. If you are that one that lives in a community where folks were acting up. The last time something major happened, some orders from the state, maybe it was a lockdown, a shutdown, and people are just starting to lose it in your community, it would make sense now to start putting up those cameras if you haven't gotten them already, to make sure that you've got some things in your home to defend yourself. If you know that people are prone to robbing and, home invasions and things of that sort. I mean, God is showing people what to do, but are they doing it? You see, are they doing it? There are some folks who, I just put my trust in the Lord. Yes, but meanwhile, though, He may have just kept trouble at bay for you, in different times of your life. But then there comes a point where God Himself tells you, if you want to keep certain trouble away, you're going to have to do the types of things to make sure that you're going to be all right. Your children are going to be all right. Some people, especially wealthy people, who have already had their lives threatened, people who have been responsible for the laws of this land, being beat up, robbed, intimidated. I mean, there was even an attempt on kidnapping someone, I mean, these sorts of things, they know they have to invest all sorts of money for security officers to guard their homes. So why wouldn't you do that on an election night? Come on. Entertainers who have been very vocal about who they support, why wouldn't you want to make sure that you got extra security that night? People who are so prideful, they have their share of ego. These are the folks who say, it'll be okay. It'll be all right, until it's not. Why put your family under so much stress because you want to go in an area or drive in an area or catch the bus or work late at night during a time when you know it's going to be chaotic? And you got PTO time? Are you kidding me? Someone needs to put in their PTO time now. Like yesterday. Don't just go along with what you heard. Do something about it. Well, I heard it's going to be wild, but yet you're still going to go there anyway. I heard that, all these, robberies and stuff took place in such and such area. Oh, so you're still going to leave your door unlocked. You're still going to leave a window open. I heard, that they shot so-and-so and, I don't know what. It must be some kind of gang initiation in the area, but yet you are continuing to drive in the areas where it's all sorts of commotion going on. Or you're continuing to stay out there on the street. Ain't nothing going to happen to me. You said have faith in God. Yes, and God also put me up to sharing a message like this. Now, why would He do that? Because He knows the future. Because He knows the future. Because He knows that some people have been playing Russian roulette with their lives. And so I guess you want to leave prematurely, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be with God, though. You see, the minor prophets and the major prophets, when you look in the scriptures, always provided a warning about God's wrath. Whoa, you see, they would say that sort of thing, WOE. And usually, after the warning, if people didn't straighten up and do what was right or listen to the major and minor prophets, there were bad things that happened. It wasn't the prophet or prophetess that gives the word. It is God using the prophet or prophetess. And there's been times where, yes, prophets and prophetesses have lost their lives. So, you see, I don't know the group that I'm talking to, but I know that some folks think that they're perfectly capable of handling some things. But just because you didn't lose one last time you did some things doesn't mean that you won't lose 2, 5, or even 10 plus the next go round. Supporting individuals, and you know that there are enemies at bay, and you know that people don't take too kindly to your type, to your kind, to your color, and yet you want to ride with some people, and you're the only one that looks like the opposing folks. Some individuals won't be spared. I'm telling you all. Some folks will not be spared. Well, see, the reason why I don't want to hear what you have to say. Why are you riding with them? Why are you talking to them? You sell out? Lord Jesus. So is this what you're doing? What? Wearing that color? Wearing that hat? What's wrong with that? What's wrong is that you done come across enemy territory. That's what's wrong. See, I'm giving some examples. There are those individuals that don't care. They don't care about your life. I thought some folks would have learned when they saw so many black men being shot, being suffocated. I thought some folks would have learned when they looked at other countries and how the same chokeholds and so forth were put on people in other countries. And those folks weren't black. They were all sorts of colors. And for some reason, we got some people who think that they're untouchable. If you haven't listened to an old audio message from many years back, it's called Untouchable Men. Check that one out. I put that together years ago. I thank you, as always, for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. Another audio that I recommend is the hidden pawn, or I should say pawns in the game, the hidden hand or something along those lines. You'll see that there's like a chessboard. That is more of a message that those who are part of the occult and affiliate groups and who are kind of doing their bidding, if you will, for some folks, you might want to check that one out. All right. Thank you. Thank you as always for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube and Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do welcome giving on this channel, and thank you in advance.